Good morning. I am Crystal and welcome to my channel, Homemaking on the Homestead. And today I am going to talk and tell you about 3 homemaking books that I have recently been reading. And they're completely different in many ways. And I'm going to give you kind of a review on them. So if you like homemaking books, then stay tuned. The first 2 books I'm going to share with you are homemaking related. Well, they all are, but these are history related as well, and in different ways. I happen to be somebody that loves history. So if you're not a history lover, maybe this won't be as appealing to you, but you might still find it entertaining. The first book that I have here is very unique. This book is called The American Frugal Housewife. But what is so neat about this book is that it was actually written in 1833. And so it is obviously a public domain book, so you can get it online. And in fact, I will leave the PDF in the description box below so that you can peruse it if you want. I chose to buy it. It was, maybe $5. And the reason I chose to buy it was because I like to sit down and read a book, and I didn't want to print it all out. And I just felt like, it's something I like to do in the evenings, sit in my chair or before I go to bed and read, hold a book and read it. But anyway, she also says in the title, dedicated to those who are not ashamed of economy. And her whole book is focused on how to be a thrift-loving, frugal housewife. And I will guarantee you a lot of it is just educational. But for us, as far as looking back at the 1800s and seeing what it was like to be a housewife back then, there's a lot of history weaved through there. There's a lot of things that she does and says that are completely irrelevant, and some of them I don't even know what some of these things are. Whortleberries, things like that. There's other things in there, but she goes through a lot. I've got a bee flying around. She goes through a lot of recipes on herbs and your own herbal remedies for things. She has a lot of cooking recipes, and even that I found fascinating. We don't cook the way they did back then, and so at least as far as the recipes are concerned, so she's, add 2 pounds of flour, add 1 pound of butter, add, that kind of thing. There really wasn't cups and teaspoons and things like that. So I even found reading through the recipes to be very interesting. I also found the thing that I loved about reading this book is how resourceful women were back then, and how much they depended on the utilization of every single thing that you had. So nothing went to waste. She has a whole section on soap making. So I found this very fascinating, of course, because I'm a soap maker. But she starts you right from the ashes, and if you didn't know, you can get lye from straining water through the ashes you would collect after burning wood. And she said if you burn coal, those ashes won't work. And I was surprised at what a lengthy process it is, putting the water through the ashes, going by the color of the water. If it's not dark enough, you need to do it again. You need to add more ashes. If you don't do that, your soap isn't going to set. And to me, I had no idea that was what was involved. Of course, I've heard about the water through ashes for lye. Then she says if you live in the city, it would probably be more economical and for you to trade a soap maker ashes and fat, cooking fats, in trade for the soap itself. So it was a whole different economy. In 1833, you didn't go to the grocery store and buy soap. I also found it interesting because she has a whole section on education of daughters, and I could see it being taken critically today. However, I look at what she's actually trying to say, and I found that is actually mirroring some of the things we see today. So one of her complaints about the education of daughters is that the education she's referring to is things like playing the piano and drawing and painting and reading poetry, but nothing on the domestic arts, nothing that teaches them how to stretch their finances, how to take that basic ingredient and create all kinds of things with it. So she said, how does this prepare women for being homemakers? And of course, in our day, women have more options. Not everybody is going to marry, although, like I've said in past videos, I think everybody's a homemaker if you have a home. But in those days, those were the options. Many women might be school teachers, and then they would marry and then take care of their homes. Anyway, so I just really enjoyed this little book for its historical value and its look at homemaking in the 1800s. Okay, now we'll move on to the next book. This book is called The Elements of a Home. And while it is a current book, it's been out for a little while, but it's basically a current book, it talks about the history of everyday common items in our home, like a bookcase. Do you know the history of a bookcase? I didn't until I read that. It starts back in the days when all writings were put into scrolls, and they had to have a way of storing the scrolls, and then they started covering the scrolls with a more of a what we would call today, a book cover, but that's not what they called them. I don't remember everything detailed, but they would store those scrolls with those covers on, and they needed a way to do that. And then eventually the scrolls were so long and unwieldy that they decided it would be better to put them in shorter amounts, like paper, like books. And anyway, and so eventually that led to the storage of them, and how do we store them, and the beginnings of bookcases. That's just one thing. She has the history of a napkin. She has the history of tables, of couches, of all kinds of different household, just everyday common household items, how they began, and how they made their way to what they are today. So like I said, all kinds of different items, from the pillow, the basic pillow we don't think anything of today, to punch bowls, to different types of flooring you have on your floor. How did they originate? Where did they come from? So if you like history, or you think that kind of thing intrigues you, you might enjoy this book. What I like about this book is that when I have a few minutes just to sit down and read, it's easy to pick up and find a topic of interest or two and read through them. So it's a great book to have by the bedside or the coffee table, just for occasional reading, and it's kind of educational at the same time. So, okay, on to the next book. This book I have absolutely loved. It is called Return of the Old-Fashioned Housewife. I think the author is Kate Singh, and she is humorous, she is enjoyable to read, but most of all, she's incredibly encouraging when it comes to living at home, taking care of your home, being frugal. She goes a lot into the stories of her life, getting out of debt, saving for a house, being way under the market as far as what they could afford, but yet being able to make it work. And I don't know, to me, it's like a boost of encouragement when I read this book. If you're just having a day where you're just not feeling it as a housewife, just flip open her book, find an article that appeals to you, and read it, and you will be encouraged and you will be inspired. That is the other aspect of her book. It's repetitive. And the reason it's repetitive is because the book is actually a compilation of 1 year of blogging. She used to be a blogger. And so she took 1 year of her blogging, compiled it all, and put it into a book form. So she, as a blogger, and I can relate to this at being someone that does blog, as a blogger, you tend to repeat yourself because you don't know that day if the person reading that blog post is there for the first time. And it helps to give a little bit of background on whatever your main point is that you're blogging about. So it is repetitive. However, that's another nice thing about it. Just like the other book, Elements of a Home, it's one of those books that you can just pick up and read through a few articles that are listed that appeal to you, and you have a little dose of encouragement. You've got a little bit of inspiration for the day. And I just feel like for me, the book was well worth, I don't even remember what I spent, but I'll put the link down. It wasn't much. It wasn't much at all. And for the amount of encouragement and just her refreshing attitude about the modern day housewife, because society does not tend to encourage that. And so her outlook is so refreshing and so enjoyable to read. At least for me. This has been, of course, this is just my opinion, but she has written some other books, and I'm actually looking forward to purchasing those and reading them, and maybe in the future I will give some reviews on those books as well. But I highly recommend this book if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, a boost of encouragement, something that you can just pick up in the morning with your cup of coffee and read an article or two and just be able to say, okay, let me get on with my day now. I'm ready. Anyway, that is my review of those 3 books. That is all for this vlog today. I hope everybody is doing well, and if you have any homemaking books that you would like to recommend, please let me know. I'm trying to find new books and encouraging books that really speak to the homemaker. If you have any books that you would like to share, please do so in the comments below. I would love to see that. All right, you guys, thank you for watching my video today, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.